Ever wonder if your thoughts are truly your own? Think about the last big opinion you formed. Was it a logical conclusion, or was it a feeling, an instinct you can't quite explain? What if I told you that feeling was deliberately crafted, placed in your mind by masters of a hidden art? We're about to pull back the curtain on how the elite manufacture your consent, using a psychological blueprint perfected over a century. This isn't a conspiracy theory, it's a documented history of modern propaganda, and by the end of this video, you'll see the world through a completely different lens. It all starts with a man you've probably never heard of, Edward Bernays, the nephew of Sigmund Freud. In the early 20th century, Bernays took his uncle's revolutionary ideas about the subconscious mind, our hidden desires, fears, and irrational drives, and weaponized them for corporate and political gain. He called his method public relations, a friendly term for what was essentially mass psychological manipulation. Bernays believed that the public was a herd that needed to be guided by an intelligent, invisible elite. He argued that instead of appealing to people's logic, you should target their emotions. Create an emotional connection between a product and a deep-seated desire. For example, he famously linked smoking to women's liberation by staging a protest where debutantes lit up torches of freedom. He didn't sell cigarettes. He sold the idea of rebellion and power to women. This was a game changer. Suddenly, propaganda wasn't just about posters and slogans. It was about engineering culture itself, shaping what we consider normal, desirable, and true. He turned wants into needs, creating the consumerist society we live in today. He wasn't just selling products, he was selling lifestyles, ideologies, and even wars, all by bypassing our rational minds and speaking directly to our primal instincts. Decades later, the renowned linguist and political critic Noam Chomsky took this concept even further with his groundbreaking book, Manufacturing Consent. Chomsky and his co-author, Edward S. Herman, argued that in a democratic society, control isn't maintained through force, but through a much more subtle and effective tool, the mass media. They proposed a propaganda model to explain how this works. Think of the news not as a window to the world, but as a series of filters. The first filter is ownership. Major media outlets are owned by massive corporations. Do you think a news network owned by a defense contractor will be critical of a new war? The second filter is advertising. Media relies on ad revenue. They won't produce content that offends their corporate sponsors. This creates a landscape where news that serves powerful interests gets amplified, while dissenting voices are marginalized or ignored. Other filters include sourcing, relying on government and corporate experts, and flack, which is negative feedback from powerful groups to keep journalists in line. The result is a media ecosystem that doesn't outright lie, but instead carefully curates reality. It sets the agenda, decides what's important, and frames the debate in a way that naturally leads to a conclusion favorable to the elite. They don't have to tell you what to think, they just have to tell you what to think about. This leads us to the most powerful tool in the propaganda playbook, the illusion of choice. We believe we are free thinkers because we can choose between different news channels, different political parties, or different brands. But what if those choices are just two sides of the same coin, designed to lead to the same outcome? Propaganda artists are masters of framing. They don't just present facts, they weave them into a narrative, a story complete with heroes, villains, and a moral imperative. By controlling the narrative, they control the emotional response. Think about a debate on economic policy. One side frames it as fiscal responsibility, tapping into our sense of prudence and security. The other frames it as social investment, appealing to our sense of compassion and fairness. Both might use the same data, but the emotional frame is what persuades us. We feel like we've made a logical choice, but we were actually guided by the emotional story we were told. This technique creates a simulated public debate where the fundamental assumptions, the ones that benefit the powerful, are never questioned. We're so busy arguing about the details within the frame that we never stop to question the frame itself. It's a brilliant strategy that gives us the feeling of agency while ensuring the herd moves in the intended direction. Now, let's bring this into the 21st century. Bernays and Chomsky could only dream of the tools available today. Social media, influencers, and algorithmic control have supercharged the propaganda machine. In the past, propagandists had to broadcast a single message to millions. Today, they can tailor a unique message for every single individual. Your social media feed is a personalized propaganda stream. Algorithms analyze your every click, like, and share to build a psychological profile of you. They know your fears, your desires, your insecurities, and your political leanings better than you do. Then, they feed you content designed to provoke an emotional reaction and keep you engaged. This creates filter bubbles and echo chambers, where your existing beliefs are constantly reinforced and dissenting opinions are never seen. Influencers have become the new torches of freedom, using their perceived authenticity and parasocial relationships to sell products and ideas. They are the modern-day experts who bypass our critical faculties because we feel like we know them, we trust them. Algorithmic control is perhaps the most insidious element. By subtly promoting certain content and suppressing other content, tech platforms can shape public opinion on a massive scale without anyone even noticing. They can swing elections, create social movements, or crush them. This isn't a top-down conspiracy. It's a decentralized, automated system of social engineering running 24/7. And we are all willing participants, happily feeding the machine the data it needs to control us. And here is the most profound and unsettling twist in this entire story. The most effective propaganda isn't the kind that's forced upon you. It's not the obvious, state-sponsored messaging you see in authoritarian regimes. The best, most sophisticated propaganda is the kind that makes you believe you discovered the truth all by yourself. It works by planting seeds, creating associations, and subtly guiding your journey of discovery. It presents you with a series of seemingly disconnected pieces of information, knowing that your brain is wired to find patterns and create stories. You connect the dots, you have that aha moment, and you feel a surge of pride and intelligence. You've uncovered the secret. You're one of the few who sees the truth. But that feeling, that very moment of intellectual triumph, was the ultimate goal of the entire operation. You weren't breaking free from the matrix. You were simply completing the final step of the program. They led you down a breadcrumb trail, and at the end, you arrived at the conclusion they wanted you to reach from the very beginning. By making you feel like the author of your own opinion, they cement that belief far more deeply than any direct command ever could. You will defend that idea with passion because you believe it's yours. This is the masterpiece of modern propaganda, convincing the puppets they are the puppeteers. It is the ultimate form of consent, manufactured not in a boardroom, but in the private theater of your own mind. So how do we fight back? The first step is awareness. By understanding these techniques, you can start to recognize them. When you encounter a piece of information, don't just ask if it's true. Ask why you are seeing it now. Who benefits from you believing this? What emotion is it trying to evoke in you? Challenge the frame. Look for what's not being said. Actively seek out dissenting opinions and sources outside your echo chamber. It's not about becoming a cynic who trusts nothing. It's about becoming a critical thinker who questions everything, especially your own emotional reactions. The goal isn't to find some perfect, unbiased truth, because that may not exist. The goal is to reclaim your own mind, to ensure that your thoughts, your beliefs, and your consent are truly your own, not a product manufactured by an invisible hand. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. I know it's a lot to think about, but these are conversations we need to be having. If you found this video valuable, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our future explorations. And I really want to know your thoughts, so drop a comment below. Have you seen these techniques in action? Let's discuss it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.